Can an investigator pull my credit? Hi, this is Consumer Protection Attorney Bill Clanton, and I've helped hundreds of consumers deal with debt collection harassment, inaccurate credit reporting, and other consumer related matters. People wonder whether an investigator has permission to pull their credit report. Well, this is an interesting question, and the first step in analyzing it is to talk about what is a permitted use and what is a non-permitted use or an impermissible use of your credit report. Now, the most common permissible uses are your authorized use. That means you're applying for a credit card or a car note, a mortgage, or a lot of employers are asking these days for you to give them permission to pull your credit report. Those are permitted uses. In some business transactions, they can be that you pulling your credit report is permitted. And in a few other contexts it is, but in general, most consumers are going to be dealing with an authorized use for part of a credit application or job application. Any other use than a specifically permitted use is a non-permitted use or an impermissible use of your credit report. So in comes an investigator. That investigator might be able to pull your credit report if the person they work for or the person who hired them has that permission. So you apply for a job and the company asks you for permission to pull your credit report. You sign the authorization. They can then give that authority to the investigator to pull a credit report or do a credit investigation of you. But your spouse or your friend or a company that you're involved in a lawsuit with doesn't have that ability to hire an investigator to go pull your credit report. So investigators are limited to the permissible uses of your credit report. If they are an agent of, they're hired by or employed by somebody who has permission to pull your credit report for a permissible purpose, then they then have that permission to go and pull your credit report and use it only for the person that employs them or hired them to do that. They can't go and distribute it to somebody else. That would be an impermissible use or an impermissible disclosure of your credit report. So, if an investigator has illegally accessed your credit report or has illegally disclosed your credit report to a third party, you may have a case under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Certainly, that investigator has invaded your privacy by disclosing your private facts to the public or to somebody who's not allowed, who does not have permission to receive those facts, does not have your permission to get that information. They have invaded your privacy. Now, you can't sue an investigator or credit reporting agency for disclosing your private credit information to the public. You can't sue them under a invasion of privacy claim because the Fair Credit Reporting Act has preempted those types of claims. You would have to sue them under the Fair Credit Reporting Act for their impermissible use or access to your credit report. Now, a case against an investigator who does not have the permission to pull your credit report but has done it anyways, or who has illegally disclosed your credit report to a third party that should not have access or does not have your permission to access it, or is not legally permitted to access your credit report, that the case against that investigator is likely not a difficult case. You can prove that they accessed your report or distributed your report, and they didn't have your permission. Their employer didn't have your permission, and the investigator did not have your permission to disclose your report. Proving that case, that invasion of privacy case against a credit reporting agency might be, well, actually likely will be more difficult because the credit reporting agency, you have to show the credit reporting agency was negligent or willful in disclosing your private information illegally. Now, credit reporting agencies have systems and policies and procedures that are in place to try to prevent this type of thing. And unless you can show that the credit reporting agency failed to identify you or identify the person accessing the information or identify that you gave them permission to access it, then you're going to have a hard time showing that the credit reporting agency was negligent or willful in disclosing your private information. If you're dealing with a situation where an investigator has illegally accessed or distributed your private credit information, then you may have a case under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The Fair Credit Reporting Act says that on the successful conclusion of your case, the person who violates the act will have to pay your attorney's fees. So, if you feel like you've been the victim of identity theft or invasion of privacy by an investigator, give us a call. We want to help you out. We want to find out if we can help you out. And if we can, we want to help you out. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.